Mosquitoes, the Culicidae, are a family of small flies consisting of 3,600 species. The word mosquito, formed by mosca and diminutive, itotu, is Spanish and Portuguese for little fly. 3 mosquitoes have a slender segmented body, 1 pair of wings, 3 pairs of long hair-like legs, and specialized, highly elongated, piercing sucking mouthparts. All mosquitoes drink nectar from flowers. Females of some species have in addition adapted to drink blood. The group diversified during the Cretaceous period. Evolutionary biologists view mosquitoes as micropredators, small animals that parasitize larger ones by drinking their blood without immediately killing them. Medical parasitologists view mosquitoes instead as vectors of disease, carrying protozoan parasites or bacterial or viral pathogens from one host to another. The mosquito life cycle consists of 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. Eggs are laid on the water surface. They hatch into motile larvae that feed on aquatic algae and organic material. These larvae are important food sources for many freshwater animals, such as dragonfly nymphs, many fish, and some birds. Adult females of many species have mouth parts adapted to pierce the skin of a host and feed on blood of a wide range of vertebrate hosts, and some invertebrates, primarily other arthropods. Some species only produce eggs after a blood meal. The mosquito's saliva is transferred to the host during the bite and can cause an itchy rash. In addition, blood-feeding species can ingest pathogens while biting and transmit them to other hosts. Those species include vectors of parasitic diseases, such as malaria and filariasis, and arboviral diseases, such as yellow fever and den fever. By transmitting diseases, mosquitoes cause the deaths of over 725,000 people each year. Description and life cycle: like all flies, mosquitoes go through 4 stages in their life cycles: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. The first 3 stages, egg, larva, and pupa, are largely aquatic, for the eggs usually being laid in stagnant water. 5. They hatch to become larvae, which feed, grow, and molt until they change into pupae. The adult mosquito emerges from the mature pupa as it floats at the water surface. Mosquitoes have adult lifespans ranging from as short as a week to around a month. Some species overwinter as adults in diapause. 6 adult mosquitoes have 1 pair of wings, with distinct scales on the surface. Their wings are long and narrow, while the legs are long and thin. The body, usually gray or black, is slender and typically 3 to 6 millimeters long. When at rest, mosquitoes hold their first pair of legs outwards, whereas the somewhat similar chironomid midges hold these legs forwards. 7 Anopheles mosquitoes can fly for up to 4 hours continuously at 1 to 2 kilometers per hour, 0.62 to 1.24 mph, 8 traveling up to 12 kilometers, 7.5 miles, in a night. Males beat their wings between 450 and 600 times per second, driven indirectly by muscles which vibrate the thorax. 9-10 mosquitoes are mainly small flies. The largest are in the genus Toxorynchites, at up to 18 millimeters, 0.71 in length, and 24 millimeters, 0.94 in wingspan. 11 those in the genus Aedes are much smaller, with a wingspan of 2.8 to 4.4 millimeters, 0.11 to 0.17 12 mosquitoes can develop from egg to adult in hot weather in as few as 5 days, but it may take up to a month. 13 At dawn or dusk, within days of pupating, males assemble in swarms, mating. The female mates only once in her lifetime, attracted by the pheromones emitted by the male. 15-16 As a species that need blood for the eggs to develop, the female finds a host and drinks a full meal of blood. She then rests for 2 or 3 days to digest the meal and allow her eggs to develop. She is then ready to lay the eggs and repeat the cycle of feeding and laying. 14 Females can live for up to 3 weeks in the wild, depending on temperature, humidity. Their ability to obtain a blood meal and avoiding being killed by their vertebrate hosts. 1417. The eggs of most mosquitoes are laid in stagnant water, which may be a pond, a marsh, a temporary puddle, a water-filled hole in a tree, or the water-trapping leaf axils of a bromeliad. Some lay near the water's edge, while others attach their eggs to aquatic plants. A few, like Apothex fuscus, can breed in salt marshes. 5. Wyomia smithii breeds in the pitchers of pitcher plants, its larvae feeding on decaying insects that have drowned there. Actinoviposition, egg-laying, varies between species. Anopheles females fly over the water, touching down or dapping to place eggs on the surface, one at a time. Their eggs are roughly cigar-shaped and have floats down their sides. A female can lay 100 to 200 eggs in her lifetime. 14. Eads females drop their eggs singly, on damp mud or other surfaces near water. Their eggs hatch only when they are flooded. 19. Females in genera such as Culex, Cheliceta, and Urinotania lay their eggs in floating rafts. 2021 Mansonia females, in contrast, lay their eggs in arrays, attached usually to the undersurfaces of water lily pads. 22 clutches of eggs of most mosquito species hatch simultaneously, but Eads eggs in diapause hatch irregularly over an extended period. 19. Larvae. The mosquito larva's head has prominent mouth brushes used for feeding, a large thorax with no legs, and a segmented abdomen. It breathes air through a siphon on its abdomen, so must come to the surface frequently. It spends most of its time feeding on algae, bacteria, and other microbes in the water's surface layer. It dives below the surface when disturbed. It swims either by propelling itself with its mouth brushes, or by jerkily wriggling its body. It develops through several stages, or instars, molting each time, after which it metamorphoses into a pupa. 13. Eads larvae, except when very young, can withstand drying. They go into diapause for several months if their pond dries out. 19. Pupae. Head and thorax of the pupa are merged into a cephalothorax, with the abdomen curving around beneath it. The pupa or tumbler can swim actively by flipping its abdomen. Like the larva, the pupa of most species must come to the surface frequently to breathe, which they do through a pair of respiratory trumpets on their cephalothoraxes. They do not feed. They pass much of their time hanging from the surface of the water by their respiratory trumpets. If alarmed, they swim downwards by flipping their abdomens in much the same way as the larvae. If undisturbed, they soon float up again. The adult emerges from the pupa at the surface of the water and flies off. 13. Feeding by adults. Further information. Onatogenifemale Ochloritatus notoscriptus, feeding on blood from a human arm. Both male and female mosquitoes feed on nectar, aphid honeydew, and plant juices. 17. But in many species the females are also blood-sucking ectoparasites. In some of those species, a blood meal is essential for egg production. In others, it just enables the female to lay more eggs. 23. Both plant materials and blood are useful sources of energy in the form of sugars. Blood supplies more concentrated nutrients, such as lipids, but the main function of blood meals is to obtain proteins for egg production. 20. For 25 mosquitoes like toxer-enchites reproduce autogenously, not needing blood meals. Disease vector mosquitoes like Anopheles and Eads are anautogenous, requiring blood to lay eggs. Many Culex species are partially anautogenous, needing blood only for their second and subsequent clutches of eggs. 26. Host animals. Blood-sucking mosquitoes favor particular host species, though they are less selective when food is short. Different mosquito species favor amphibians, reptiles including snakes, birds, and mammals. For example, Cheliceta melanura sucks the blood of passerini birds, but as mosquito numbers rise they attack mammals, including horses and humans, causing epidemics of eastern equine encephalitis virus in North America. 27. Loss of blood from many bites can add up to a large volume, occasionally causing the death of livestock as large as cattle and horses. 28. Malaria-transmitting mosquitoes seek out caterpillars and feed on their hemolymph. 29. impeding their development. 30. Finding host. Blood-feeding female mosquitoes find their hosts using multiple cues, including exhaled carbon dioxide, heat, and many different odorants. Most mosquito species are crepuscular, feeding at dawn or dusk, and resting in a cool place through the heat of the day. 31. Some species, such as the Asian tiger mosquito, are known to fly and feed during daytime. 32. Female mosquitoes hunt for hosts by smelling substances such as carbon dioxide CO2 and 1-octanthiol mushroom alcohol, found in exhaled breath produced from the host, and through visual recognition. 33. The semiochemical that most strongly attracts Culex quinquefasciatus is non-anal. 34. Another attractant is sulcitone. 35. A large part of the mosquito's sense of smell, or olfactory system, is devoted to sniffing out blood sources. Of 72 types of odor receptors on its antennae, at least 27 are tuned to detect chemicals found in perspiration. 36. In Eads, the search for a host takes place into phases. First, the mosquito flies about until it detects a host's odorants, then it flies towards them, using the concentration of odorants as its guide. 37. Mosquitoes prefer to feed on people with type O blood, an abundance of skin bacteria, high body heat, and pregnant women. 38. 39. Individuals' attractiveness to mosquitoes has a heritable, genetically controlled component. 40. The multitude of characteristics in a host observed by the mosquito allows it to select a host to feed on. This occurs when a mosquito notes the presence of CO2, as it then activates odor and visual search behaviors that it otherwise would not use. In terms of a mosquito's olfactory system, chemical analysis has revealed that people who are highly attractive to mosquitoes produce significantly more carboxylic acids. 41. A human's unique body odor indicates that the target is actually a human host rather than some other living warm-blooded animal, as the presence of CO2 shows. Body odor, composed of volatile organic compounds emitted from the skin of humans, is the most important cue used by mosquitoes. 42. Variation in skin odor is caused by body weight, hormones, genetic factors, and metabolic or genetic disorders. Infections such as malaria can influence an individual's body odor. People infected by malaria produce relatively large amounts of Plasmodium-induced aldehydes in the skin, creating large cues for mosquitoes as it increases the attractiveness of an odor blend. Imitating a healthy human odor, infected individuals produce larger amounts of aldehydes heptanol, octanol, and non-anal. These compounds are detected by mosquito antennae. Thus, people infected with malaria are more prone to mosquito biting. 43. Contributing to a mosquito's ability to activate search behaviors. A mosquito's visual search system includes sensitivity to wavelengths from different colors. Mosquitoes are attracted to longer wavelengths, correlated to the colors of red and orange as seen by humans, and range through the spectrum of human skin tones. In addition, they have a strong attraction to dark, high-contrast objects because of how longer wavelengths are perceived against a lighter-colored background. 40. For scanning electron microscope image of the labium tip of Culex mosquito. Different species of mosquitoes have evolved different methods of study of a domestic form and an animal-biting form of the mosquito Aedes aegypti showed that the evolution of preference for human odor is linked to increases in the expression of the olfactory receptor, or AUGR4. This recognizes a compound present at high levels in human odor called sulcitone. However, the malaria mosquito on Opheles gambia also has OR4 genes strongly activated by sulcitone, yet none of them are closely related to AUGR4, suggesting that the two species have evolved to specialize in biting humans independently. 45. Mouthparts. Further information. Insect mouthparts. Female mosquito mouthparts are highly adapted to piercing skin and sucking blood. Males only drink sugary fluids and have less specialized mouthparts. 46. Externally, the most obvious feeding structure of the mosquito is the proboscis, composed of the labium, U-shaped in section like a rain gutter. which sheathes a bundle fascicle of 6 piercing mouthparts or stylets. These are to mandibles, to maxillae, the hypopharynx, and the labrum. The labium bends back into a bow when the mosquito begins to bite, staying in contact with the skin and guiding the stylets downwards. The extremely sharp tips of the labrum and maxillae are moved backwards and forwards to saw their way into the skin, with just 1/1000th of the force that would be needed to penetrate the skin with a needle, resulting in a painless insertion. 47, 48, 49. Saliva. Mosquito saliva contains enzymes that aid in sugar feeding, 50, and antimicrobial agents that control bacterial growth in the sugar meal. 51. For a mosquito to obtain a blood meal, it must circumvent its vertebrate host's physiological responses. Mosquito saliva blocks the host's hemostasis system with proteins that reduce vascular constriction, blood clotting, and platelet aggregation to ensure the blood keeps flowing. 52. It modulates the host's immune response via a mixture of proteins which lower angiogenesis and immunity, create inflammation. 50 to 53. Suppress tumor necrosis factor release from activated mast cells. 50. For suppress interleukin-2, anti-F and gamma production. 55, 56. Suppress T-cell populations. 57, 58, 59. Decrease expression of interferon, alpha, beta, making virus infections more severe. 60, 61. Increase natural killer T-cells in the blood and decrease cytokine production. 60 to egg development and blood digestion. An Anopheles stevensii female is engorged with blood and beginning to pass unwanted liquid fractions to make room in its gut for more of the solid nutrients. Females of many blood-feeding species need a blood meal to begin the process of egg development. A sufficiently large blood meal triggers a hormonal cascade that leads to egg development. 63. Upon completion of feeding, the mosquito withdraws her proboscis, and as the gut fills up, the stomach lining secretes a peritrophic membrane that surrounds the blood. This keeps the blood separate from anything else in the stomach. Like many Hemiptera that survive on dilute liquid diets, many adult mosquitoes excrete surplus liquid even when feeding. This permits females to accumulate a full meal of nutrient solids. The blood meal is digested over a period of several days. 64. Once blood is in the stomach, the midgut synthesizes protease enzymes, primarily trypsin assisted by aminopeptidase, that hydrolyze the blood proteins into free amino acids. These are used in the synthesis of vitellogenin, which in turn is made into egg yolk protein. 65. Distribution. Quistosma momoa shamola mola 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 have a cosmopolitan distribution, occurring in every land region except Antarctica and a few islands with polar or subpolar climates, such as Iceland, which is essentially free of mosquitoes. 66. This absence is probably caused by Iceland's climate. Its weather is unpredictable, freezing, but often warming suddenly in midwinter, making mosquitoes emerge from pupae and diapause, and then freezing again before they can complete their life cycle. 67, 68. Eggs of temperate zone mosquitoes are more tolerant of cold than the eggs of species indigenous to warmer regions. 69, 70. Many can tolerate sub-zero temperatures, while adults of some species can survive winter by sheltering in microhabitats such as buildings or hollow trees. 71. In warm and humid tropical regions, some mosquito species are active for the entire year, but in temperate and cold regions, they hibernate or enter diapause. Arctic or subarctic mosquitoes, like some other Arctic midges, in families such as Simulidae and Ceratopogonidae, may be active for only a few weeks annually as meltwater pools form on the permafrost. During that time, though, they emerge in huge numbers in some regions. A swarm may take up to 300 milliliters of blood per day from each animal in a caribou herd. 70. To effective climate change for a mosquito to transmit disease, there must be favorable seasonal conditions. 73. Primarily humidity, temperature, and precipitation. 70. For El Niño affects the location and number of outbreaks in East Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and India. Climate change impacts the seasonal factors and in turn the dispersal of mosquitoes. 75 climate models can use historic data to recreate past outbreaks and to predict the risk of vector-borne disease. Based on an area's forecasted climate, 76 mosquito-borne diseases have long been most prevalent in East Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and India. An emergence in Europe was observed early in the 21st century. It is predicted that by 2030, the climate of southern Great Britain will be suitable for transmission of Plasmodium vivax malaria by Anopheles mosquitoes for 2 months of the year, and that by 2080, the same will be true for southern Scotland. 7778. Dengue fever, too, is spreading northwards with climate change. The vector, the Asian tiger mosquito Aedes albopictus, has by 2023 established across southern Europe and as far north as much of northern France, Belgium, Holland, and both Kent and West London in England. 79. Predators and parasites mosquito larvae are among the commonest animals in ponds, and they form an important food source for freshwater predators. Among the many aquatic insects that catch mosquito larvae are dragonfly and damselfly nymphs, whirligig beetles, and water striders. Vertebrate predators include fish, such as catfish and the mosquito fish, amphibians including the spadefoot toad and the giant tree frog, freshwater turtles, such as the red-eared slider, and birds such as ducks. 80 emerging adults are consumed at the pond surface by predatory flies, including Empididae and Dolichopodidae, and by spiders. Flying adults are captured by dragonflies and damselflies, by birds such as swifts and swallows, and by vertebrates including bats. 81 mosquitoes are parasitized by hydrachnid mites, ciliates such as glaucoma, microsporidians such as thalania, and fungi including species of Saprolegniaceae and Entomotheraceae. 81 pollination of mosquito visiting a marigold flower for nectar-several flowers, including members of the Asteraceae, Rosaceae, and Orchidaceae, are pollinated by mosquitoes, which visit to obtain sugar-rich nectar. They are attracted to flowers by a range of semiochemicals, such as alcohols, aldehydes, ketones, and terpenes. Mosquitoes have visited and pollinated flowers since the Cretaceous period. It is possible that plant-sucking exapted mosquitoes to blood-sucking. 17. However, its identification as a mosquito is disputed, with other authors considering it to be a chaoberid fly instead. 87. 3 other unambiguous species of Cretaceous mosquito are known. Burmaculix antiquus and Priscoculix burmanicus are known from Burmese amber from Myanmar, which dates to the earliest part of the Cenomanian age of the late Cretaceous, around 99 million years ago. 88-89. Paleochilicis minutus is known from Canadian amber from Alberta, Canada, which dates to the Campanian age of the late Cretaceous, around 79 million years ago. 90. Pete burmanicus has been assigned to the Anophelinae, indicating that the split between this subfamily and the Chelicinae took place over 99 million years ago. 89. Molecular estimates suggest that this split occurred 197.5 million years ago during the early Jurassic, but that major diversification did not take place until the Cretaceous. 91. Taxonomerther information. List of mosquito general. Over 3,600 species of mosquitoes in 112 genera have been described. They are traditionally divided into two subfamilies, the Anophelinae and the Chelicinae, which carry different diseases. Roughly speaking, protozoal diseases like malaria are transmitted by anophelines, while viral diseases such as yellow fever and dengue fever are transmitted by chelicins. 92. The name Chelicidae was introduced by the German entomologist Johann Wilhelm Meigen in his 7-volume classification, published in 1818 to 1838. 93. Mosquito taxonomy was advanced in 1901 when the English entomologist Frederick Vincent Theobald published his 5-volume monograph on the Chelicidae. 94. He had been provided with mosquito specimens sent into the British Museum Natural History from around the world on the 1898 instruction of the Secretary of State for the Colonies, Joseph Chamberlain, who had written that in view of the possible connection of malaria with mosquitoes, it is desirable to obtain exact knowledge of the different species of mosquitoes and allied insects in the various tropical colonies. I will therefore ask you to have collections made of the winged insects in the colony which bite men or animals. 95 Phylogeny Xteroloscosimum are members of a family of the true flies order Diptera, the Chilicidae from the Latin chilex, genitive chilices, meaning midge or gnat. 96. They are members of the infraorder Chilicomorpha and superfamily Chilicoidea. The phylogenetic tree is based on the Flytree project. 97-98. Rhodticopteromorpha, phantom, and primitive craneflies, Culicomorpha chironomidae non-biting midges, Simuloidea blackflies and biting midges, Culicoidea dixidae meniscus midges, Corythrelidae frog-biting midges, Chalburidae phantom midges, Chilicidae other midges, and gnats all other flies. Inc. Brachycera. Internalf to subfamilies of mosquitoes are Anophelinae, containing 3 genera and approximately 430 species, and Chelicinae, which contains 11 tribes, 108 genera, and 3,046 species. Kin Reidenbach and colleagues analyzed mosquito phylogenetics in 2009, using both nuclear DNA and morphology of 26 species. They note that Anophelinae is confirmed to be rather basal, but that the deeper parts of the tree are not well resolved. 99 Chilicidae basal SPP, Anophelinae Chelicinae other SPP, Adeni other SPP, Sabathini. Vectors of disease. Main article: mosquito-borne disease. Mosquitoes are vectors for many disease-causing microorganisms including bacteria, viruses, and protozoan parasites. Nearly 700 million people acquire a mosquito-borne illness each year, resulting in over 725,000 deaths. 100 common mosquito-borne viral diseases include yellow fever 101 and dengue fever transmitted, mostly by Aedes aegypti. 100 to parasitic diseases transmitted by mosquitoes include malaria and lymphatic filariasis. The Plasmodium parasites that cause malaria are carried by female Anopheles mosquitoes. Lymphatic filariasis, the main cause of elephantiasis, is spread by a wide variety of mosquitoes. 103. A bacterial disease spread by Culex and Chelicida mosquitoes is tularemia. 100 for control. Main article: mosquito control. Mosquito nets can prevent people being bitten while they sleep. Many measures have been tried for mosquito control, including the elimination of breeding places, exclusion via window screens and mosquito nets, biological control with parasites such as fungi 105, 106, and nematodes 107, or predators such as fish 108, 109, 110, copepods 111, dragonfly nymphs and adults, and some species of lizard and gecko 112. The chemical DEET repels some mosquitoes and other insects. 117. Some CDC recommended repellents are picaridin, eucalyptus oil PMD, and ethylbutylacetylamination IR3535. 118. Pyrethrum from chrysanthemum species, particularly C. cinerarifolium and C. coccinum, is an effective plant-based repellent. 119. Electronic insect repellent devices that produce ultrasounds intended to keep away insects and mosquitoes are marketed. No EPA or university study has shown that these devices prevent humans from being bitten by a mosquito. 120 bites. Further information: mosquito bite allergies. Mosquito bites lead to a variety of skin reactions and, more seriously, to mosquito bite allergies. 121. Such hypersensitivity to mosquito bites is an excessive reaction to mosquito saliva. Proteins. 122. Numerous species of mosquito can trigger such reactions, including Aedes aegypti, A. vexans, A. albopictus, Anopheles sinensis, Chilex pipiens. 123. Aedes communis, Anopheles stevensi, 120 for C. quinquefasciatus, C. tritonoriensis, 125, and Ochloratatus triceriotis. 126, cross-reactivity between salivary proteins of different mosquitoes implies that allergic responses may be caused by virtually any mosquito species. 127, treatment can be with anti-itch medications, including some taken orally, such as diphenhydramine, or applied to the skin, like antihistamines or corticosteroids such as hydrocortisone. Aqueous ammonia 3.6% also provides relief. 128, both topical heat, 129, and cold may be useful as treatments. 130, Greek mythology, Arthur Rackham's illustration of the fable of the bull and the mosquito. 1912 ancient Greek beast fables including the elephant and the mosquito and the bull and the mosquito. Wit. H. The general moral that the large beast does not even notice the small one. Derive ultimately from Mesopotamia. 131 origin myths. Peoples of Siberia have origin myths surrounding the mosquito. One Ostiac myth tells of a man-eating giant, Punigus, who is killed by a hero but will not stay dead. The hero eventually burns the giant, but the ashes of the fire become mosquitoes that continue to plague mankind. Other myths from the Yakuts, Gold's non-eye people, and Samoyed have the insect arising from the ashes or fragments of some giant creature or demon. Similar tales found in native North American myth, with the mosquito arising from the ashes of a man-eater, suggest a common origin. The Tatars of the Altai had a variant of the same myth, involving the fragments of the dead giant, Andalmamuas, becoming mosquitoes and other insects. 130 to Lafcadio tells that in Japan, mosquitoes are seen as reincarnations of the dead, condemned by the errors of their former lives to the condition of jikiketsugaki, or blood-drinking pretas. 133 modern era how a mosquito operates. 1912 Windsor McKay's 1912 film, How a Mosquito Operates, was one of the earliest works of animation. It has been described as far ahead of its time in technical quality. 134. It depicts a giant mosquito tormenting a sleeping man. 135 12 ships of the Royal Navy have borne the name HMS Mosquito, or the archaic form of the name, HMS Mosquito. 136 The de Havilland Mosquito was a high-speed aircraft manufactured between 1940 and 1950 and used in many roles. 137 The Russian city of Berezniki annually celebrates its mosquitoes from the 17th of July to the 20th in a most delicious girl competition. In the competition, the girls stand for 20 minutes in their shorts and vests, and the one who receives the most bites wins.